time to step up and to be the fastest from the start to the finish.
When I ride well, I hit the marks, all of them.
Trying to make a run for the overall for sure. Try to be consistent everywhere.
That's the biggest lesson. Don't give up.
What's up, guys? Just finished a tough ride. Welcome to Crankworx Connect. My name is Derek Foose, and you are joining me today. I'm here at Whistler's best bike shop, Fanatico, on the corner of St. Andrew's House. I'm literally surrounded by Norco bikes, and we are so stoked to have you. If you don't remember, if maybe this is your first time, you don't know what's going on, Crankworx Connect, we couldn't bring you to Crankworx this year, so we are bringing Crankworx to you virtually. We've got great guests, we've got athletes, we've got designers, we've got all kinds of people that we're chatting with, and then we're going to get to the sports. And if you want to know what the sports are, well, the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series is on. Here's what it's all about. Check it out. Riding all summer long, we've got 25 of the world's best DC-based athletes basically competing at every kind of mountain biking you can imagine. Enduro, Air DH, dual slalom, and downhill at all three stops. We started at Silver Star, we went to Kicking Horse last week. We're at Sun Peaks now, wrapping up this series. It's been going off, and if you want to see it, you can see it today. The Maxxis Sun Peaks DH, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Tune in live. We're going to have Elliot Jackson and Cam McCall calling all the action. The downhill track at Sun Peaks is insane if you don't tune in. And then tomorrow, Air DH, same time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. You can do the conversion and figure it out. All right, let's look at the standings right now because the race action has been hot. Viver Beek right now in first place on the women's side, but Casey Brown is very close. And ALN, Andréane Lantier-Nadeau, super close. She's been surging, a couple big wins recently. Via can put it away here, but she's going to have to be strong, and we're going to have to see Casey and ALN falter, which doesn't happen very often. So pretty exciting. Now, on the other side of things, well, it's Finn's world, and we're all just living in it. Finn Isles wraps up the series with 2 events in his pocket. We still have downhill and Air DH, but it doesn't matter because Finn put it away at the dual slalom yesterday. Lars Van Steenbergen, Reitz Werner, Jesse Melamed, though, battling it out for 2nd and 3rd spot. Everybody still wants to be on the podium in the overall for the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series, but only 2 of those 3 guys are going to do it. So we'll see what happens in the downhill. We'll see what happens in the Air DH. And, well, we've got some exciting racing coming up. Now, if you want to get involved, you want to join the conversation all the way across all social media platforms at Crankworx. That's us. That's us on Insta, Facebook, wherever. And hashtag Crankworx from home if you're watching with all your buds. We know you are. It's been, the numbers are great. You guys are enjoying what we've got. Now, one thing that tends to happen is you see, you watch, and then, you get on Pink Bike and just comment. The comments are a swamp, and we love it. We're watching, we're reading them. It's keeping us entertained. I know it's keeping you entertained. Half the time I go to the comments before I even read the article. So we've got your comments here. We've been sifting through. Comment of the week. I love this one. Nuts run on single crown. Some of the bitsy gaps transitions were insane. Much respect. Guess what? The pros are reading them too. Jesse Melamed. Thanks. He's a man of few words. He lets his actions speak for himself. If you haven't seen his run from the DH, and this is what I love about the summer series, Jesse Melamed winning downhill, Finn Isles winning enduros. These guys are mountain bikers. It doesn't matter where you put them, they're going to shine. Now, that was positive. Much respect. I like that. But not all the comments in the comment swamp are positive. The hater of the week. We're not a hater, a constructive criticism. Maybe you just want to, help things get better. The most confusing series in the history of everything. Simon used to skate. What are you talking about? He ended it nice, kind of a poop sandwich. Hey, racing at Mount 7 is a great call. What's confusing about it? We have 4 races at each place. We go to 3 places. If you can't keep up with that, I don't know what to tell you. Focused. It's bike racing. We love it. You guys love it. I really don't think it's that confusing, but maybe you can check it out. All right. Every week we've been joined by some co-hosts for Crankworx Connect, our fans of the week, and this week is no exception. This week we've got a doozy for you. 2-time mountain bike world champ, Olympic medalist, Kamloops local, Catherine Pendrell, and Sun Peak Shredder, BC Cup athlete, last year Pink Bike Photo of the Year nominee, Kylie Stewart. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks. Thank you. Wish we were racing, but happy to watch.
Yeah, no doubt. I actually wanted to ask you guys about that because both of you have been in a lot of heavy race situations. What's it feel like in this situation, I guess, to be spectators, to be involved from the outside, and to have Crankworx at your local shred spot?
Yeah, I mean, for this particular event, it's easy to be on the outside because it's not my specialty. I do cross country, but definitely seeing racing actually happening, it's both exciting, but you also have a little bit of FOMO because you're not out there.
Yeah, pretty much same here. All my friends are out racing. Definitely wish I could join them, but it's awesome to watch and support them.
All right, Kylie, I want to talk to you a little bit about the downhill track. We've got Maxxis DH today. You've ridden this track. You know the trails inside out. What's it going to take to be fast on this track today?
It's a pretty long, demanding track. It's rough and steep in the top bit and the middle bit, and then a bit pedaling near the end. So I think, somebody like Miranda, who's got that strength and just like nailed the course down, she's going to kill it.
All right, and on the men's side, Catherine, this one's for you. We've seen a few athletes kind of rising to the top, especially on the downhill days, but it's really kind of interesting between enduro and downhill specific athletes. Who do you like on the Sun Peaks track for today's downhill on the men's side?
I mean, it's hard to argue with Finn being on fire right now, but I know Jesse Melamed is really enjoying how fast and flowy the trails are, and I think that good energy and enjoyment of these tracks can go a long way to being successful on them.
Totally. I mean, it's a bit cliche, but there's truth to it. Whoever's having the most fun out there is going to do the best. They're going to be fast. All right, Catherine and Kylie, thank you. We're going to put you guys on pause for a sec, and we're going to take a break. We're going to look at some other stuff, but we are coming back. We're going to chat with these two again. So great to catch up. All right, now we're speaking of riders. This is your chance to get involved directly with the riders, to have your say. Crankworx Fantasy, this contest, it's a fan favorite. It is on Sun Peaks this week. So you got to log on. Obviously, you have your profile already set up, and you're going to start clicking through. You're going to pick who you like. Finn Isles, hard to argue against him. He is now the series champ. Click, 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 Fast Van Steenbergen. Dual slalom, kills it. Air DH, hard to bet against Fast. And then you've got your dark horses, Reese Werner, Lucas Cruz. Reese has been surging in the Crankworx CLIF Summer Series this year. On the women's side, Casey and Baya, well, that's your 1-2 right now. So if you're not picking those two, I'm not really sure what you're doing, but you maybe want to look at the standings before you lock in your picks. All right, guys, we have had a chance to go exclusive. We have the world premiere of Reese Wallace's brand new video. This guy, every time he gets in front of a camera on his bike, he blows minds. This time, it's no exception. Check out Reese Wallace. We're lucky enough to be joined here on Crankworx Connect by Reese. Reese, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I want to dig right into this. That edit is unbelievable. Tell me a little bit about how you, first of all, got into flying your own plane, and what gave you the idea to fly your plane to bike destinations.
Yeah, I think ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to fly, and I was either like, okay, I'm going to become a pilot or a mountain biker, and then I just got the mountain biking bug too bad, and I had to push the flying to the back burner. But about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I was like, if I don't get my pilot's license, I never will. Like, I got to do this. So just hunkered down and got it done. And yeah, it's a big passion of mine.
Most of these features that you're riding is stuff that you built, or are you just coming across these trails in the various locations?
Yeah, most of the stuff is just trails that I've ridden over the years. And some of the stuff, like the flip to manual, that's an old jump. It's been there forever, and we rebuilt it. And a bunch of the other stuff in the video, we rebuilt and freshened it up for the video. But yeah, almost everything in that video is public trails.
All right, so a slight shift of gears, Reese. You've been through some pretty serious stuff with your health lately. What happened? Maybe run us through what your diagnosis was and how you got through it and back to where you're at today.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a spooky beginning of the year for me. I pinched or irritated a nerve in my neck. Basically, years of hucking and like head slapping. My neck didn't like it. It caused my vision to go all wonky. My ears were ringing. Thankfully, I'm fully recovered now with the help of my physiotherapist, and feeling stronger and definitely taking my health a bit more seriously now.
Wow, that's insane. I mean, we are all so thankful that you have come out of this and are really back to full strength. One thing that to me is the sign of full strength is your Insta video of you hitting the last jump on A-line on your Giant Glory and sending a massive backflip. That just said Reese is back to me. So congratulations. And also thank you for putting in the work and everything. And on behalf of Crankworx Connect, Reese, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you. Thanks, Reese.
Great. Thanks a lot, Derek.
Well, in 2020, it seems like off-camera turns like this are a rare breed. So what is an off-camera turn? An off-camera turn is a turn that's banked in the opposite direction that we want. Unlike a berm, which helps support you around the turn, this almost pushes you off the turn. The tricky part about this is we need to use good turning technique to assist us around the turn. One of the most important aspects of good turning technique in a turn like this is dropping our outside pedal and weighting our outside grip. So when our bike is leaned over, doing that puts our weight directly above the contact patch of our tire, driving it into the ground to get a better bite. This helps maintain traction as we rail the turn. Alright, so I hope these tips help you if you do encounter one of these old school off-camera turns on your next ride. They shouldn't be scary, they're actually a lot of fun when you get right, and they're a good challenge, so having a good challenge once in a while is probably a good thing. So, as always, my name is Phil Metz. Thanks for playing bikes with me today, and I'll see you guys next time.
Alright, we are here with honorary Whistler local, multi-time champion, queen of Crankworx over and over again, Jill Kintner. Welcome to Crankworx Connect.
What's up, guys? It's been a while. Nice to see you.
No doubt, Jill. Crankworx, it's hard to imagine it without you right now. It's going on. You're just over the border in Bellingham. So since we're throwing it back, I wanted to kind of throw it back, or have you throw it back for us, to your first experience in Whistler. You've got a big connection with this place.
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised in Seattle, so it's not super far. And like Whistler Bike Park is such a legendary place that, like, when I was a kid, it was actually the first place I ever rode a mountain bike. Like, I rented some like hardtail, like my soccer friends, we all went up there and rented hardtails and like took the chairlift up. And and now that we live in Bellingham, it's, 20 minutes to the border. So it's one of these days it'll open up.
Right there. You've won the Queen of Crankworx title 5 times. You won 3 in a row. The last one was 2018. I want to kind of dig into what it takes physically for you, event after event after event, to stay on top in so many different disciplines.
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge of what Crankworx is. It's like you have practice, you have qualifying, you have finals like every day back to back, and they seem to add more and more events to the whole day. So, I mean, by the end of it, you're completely spent. You don't have like a minute to take it in, and you have to stay sharp. Your bikes have to be like perfect. You have to like minimize mistakes. So there's a lot of kind of compromise that you have to do just to save your energy. But I always try and like plan ahead and build like a good program and, build up and train for it, so I know what to expect. And it's like definitely helps having all these years of experience to know how you're going to feel. Or like I do weeks at home where I'm just like, 3 bikes a day and I practice it. So it's kind of normal.
I want to ask you some questions about the format for the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series, because I really feel like this format is almost custom built for your skill set. What do you think about what the riders are doing out there in this series?
Obviously, like, I wish I could be a part of it, but it's just like, it feels like such a great opportunity for Canadian riders to shine, because you go to a World Cup and maybe you don't have the best results, and like they're just, they get the attention and the confidence built and stuff. And so it's like, I feel like they could plug and play this this format with these 4 events like anywhere, and it's like a real mountain bike event. So it's quite fun to watch. It's cool seeing all the Norco boys up there too. Good job, dudes.
All right, so how do you prepare for these kinds of things that are going to be so grueling both on your body and your brain? What does it take to get ready so that when competition time comes, you're on point?
Well, I've always been like a visual learner, and I really like details and preparation. So I kind of just set myself up with a schedule, and I know how long I have to practice. And so I kind of can mentally take in the scope of how big of a effort it is. So I have like sketchbooks that I keep, and I draw track maps. So I'll show you don't tell anyone, but I'll show you my how I plan. It's can you see?
So we've got like incredible detail there. Like
Yeah, so
everything.
I go day by day and I have goals and I know how much time I'm gonna put in each discipline and I know what the key, like I have my own keys or what I gotta work on. So I just like I kind of bite off little baby steps to keep me present and in the now, and I like manage my nutrition, or I have a mechanic help me with my bike. So it's just kind of an energy game where you need to have like full energy when you need it and then rest when you can. And so I feel like managing your time and your energy is like, and eating the right food and having someone help you is really the keys to that whole series, you know?
When we get going again, when we're back to normal, we get, you're back up in Whistler. Do you have, spring, summer, fall, you're here all the time. Do you have a time of year that you like to ride in Whistler the most? What's your go-to?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than October in Whistler. There's the dirt and the crispness in the air, and it's kind of like season's winding down, so it's all mellow and people are loving it. So as far as conditions go, they got the all-time fall time coined pretty well.
5-time Queen of Crankworx. We miss you in the Crankworx Summer Series. I have to say there's probably a few of the women racing right now maybe breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief that the border is closed, but really looking forward to having you back in the mix, Jill. And I want to say on behalf of the whole Crankworx family, thank you for joining us here. It's a pleasure to catch up and can't wait to see you between the tape again. Thanks, Jill.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, we're learning every day. Crankworx Connect, we've learned that an airplane is the best way to get around with your mountain bike, and a deep dive into the mind of a champion there with Jill Kintner, seeing what it actually takes to win, the dedication, the focus, the preparation, all of that going into 5 Queen of Crankworx crowns. That's what it takes. If you want to be queen, that's what you got to do. All right, now we had a chance to catch up with Elliot Jackson. Elliot is a member of our broadcast team here on the Crankworx Summer Series. He's a pro rider, but he's also been very busy setting up his new endeavor, I guess. And we really were stoked to catch up with Elliot and have him guide us through exactly what he's been doing. All right, Elliot Jackson, you are a busy man, pro mountain biker. You're hosting your podcast, you're hosting Crankworx for the CLIF Summer Series, and you've added another element to your schedule. You have started the Grow Cycling Foundation. Why don't you start out by telling me what it is?
So we started the Grow Cycling Foundation to increase diversity and inclusion in cycling. After all of the George Floyd incident happened, I've never really made race a platform in my career. And I got to have all of these conversations with marketing directors and CEOs and stuff like that behind the scenes. And I realized that kind of what I love the most about this is not so much telling my story or being in the public eye, but really trying to provide opportunity for people to live the life that I have. And I think all of us know how awesome cycling is. I've been able to travel the world. I'm here talking to you right now, just being able to ride all these cool places. So that to me is what I'm passionate about, and why we kind of started it, is really to just provide that opportunity for people.
One thing that you said that I thought was kind of, I don't know, really just an interesting little fact. You said, I'm an athlete, not an activist. This is pretty active though, this foundation. This is a serious business.
Totally. And I think that's kind of my role, I think, in this is to let other people have the conversation around what it means to be educated. And I feel like my role is really to be behind the scenes, and doing all of the things that are required. I mentioned talking to companies. What would it look like for them to be able to hire more diversity? What would it look like for there to be a path for a kid first getting on a bike to get a job in the cycling industry, to be able to go to a World Cup or to race Crankworx? And that to me is what I'm passionate about, is providing that path. And yeah, I think it's a little bit activist, but it's really combines, I think, a lot of what I'm passionate about, behind the scenes business, really making relationships and solving problems.
Now, if people want to help this foundation, the Grow Cycling Foundation, get involved, what can they do? What can people do to help this out and build this up?
So we just launched yesterday. We have a website at growcyclingfoundation.org. People can go there. Anyone can get involved. You know, individuals can donate. Companies can donate. We have some great partners, founding partners that have come on board with us. We have Yeti Cycles, one of the first company that I rode for. We have Pink Bike. We have Fox, who I've ridden for every year except for one. Rafa, who is new in my life, but I hope that it'll continue, and then Red Bull. And so those are the brands that have kind of gone above and beyond. And you know, we want to bring diversity and use cycling as a stepping stone to bring that into other industries. Kind of one of the things I say is to bring, you know, the city to the outdoors, you first have to bring the outdoors to the city. And that's why we're building this pump track in Los Angeles first, is to provide that entry point for people who are just getting into cycling, who might not know about it. So yeah, we can, you can get involved, you can tell people about it, you can go to the website, you can donate, you can reach out to me. We're happy to have everyone.
I love the idea of bringing the outdoors to the city, the pump track in LA. I think everyone out there, you, me, we can all relate to that. The feeling once you get rolling on two wheels, wherever it is, it's pretty addictive. And the more people that feel that, the more people are going to get involved. Okay, so you guys in the setup of this have been absolutely pinned. You've been working your brains out, getting this all set up. Maybe can you take us through a little bit about what you've been doing and what you've got so far? What's built, what's ready?
We have an Instagram that you can follow at Grow Cycling Foundation, the website, growcyclingfoundation.org. And I think, you know, the parting thing that I want to say to everyone is just that we're in this for the long haul, and we want everyone to just have fun and think of it as just, you know, giving people the opportunity to do what everyone watching here loves, which is ride a bike. So we have a little launch video that kind of highlights the way I think about cycling and my journey. So take a look and enjoy it. My parents taught me to work hard, do my best, and to dream big. The world taught me that there are no excuses. My whole life I put my head down and focused on that, reminding myself that I am the one that makes things possible. The only problem was when I picked my head back up, I realized that most of the time I was the only black person at the starting line. That the life that cycling provided me, representing my country in the World Championships, traveling to over 30 countries, and having the privilege to speak to you right now, that path doesn't exist for most people like me. We started Grow Cycling Foundation so that the next Elliot Jackson can be even better than I am, so that the industry I love can speak to more people that look like me. Because there is nothing inherent in the color of a person's skin that makes them not want to ride a bike. We're here to go beyond words, to show you that no matter where you come from and what you look like, your dreams are valid, and you belong here.
All right, so turning and braking go hand in hand, but at the same time, you don't want to brake in turns. You've probably heard that before. So if you're in a situation where you're coming up to a turn and you're hauling butt, you're going way too fast for that turn, what do? Do you just lock up your brakes and skid off the trail? Or do you let off the brakes and just hope for the best? Here we have the perfect situation of what that looks like. We have this big triple into a sharp right-hand turn, and we have very little time to slow ourselves down before we get to this turn. This is a perfect situation where we really need to be careful about our braking and modulating our brake throughout the turn. One thing that I do, and I know a lot of other riders tend to do, is we'll feather our brake throughout the turn. If I'm pulling my front brake and I feel it start to slide, I'll let off it until my tire regains traction again, and then once it has solid traction, I'll pull it again to slow myself down. The same concept still applies whether your foot's on or off the pedal. You're still feathering your front brake as you go around the turn. That's all the tips I have for you. Hopefully you find these fun. As always, my name is Phil Metz. Thanks for playing bikes with me today, and I'll see you guys next time.
Inspiring stuff there from Elliot. It's so cool to see him getting people involved in cycling. You get some wheels under you and take it from there. So these athletes in the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series are taking it to the absolute pinnacle of what's possible on a bike. It's so cool to see them BC based, but the series has gone worldwide. People watching from all over the world, and it is on today. We are racing downhill. We're going to start, take a quick look at who's going to be dropping in out of the gate on the women's side. Anoa Ihurko, she's back. Lucy, Georgia, Miranda, ALN, Casey Vaya, those three, these points are going to be critical for the overall crown here in the summer series. On the women's side, it is tight. The racing is going to be very close, and all three of those guys want to be on top. On the men's side, there's been a lockdown. Finn Isles has it, but these guys all are going to want to finish strong. This is as we heard from Kylie, this is a sick downhill track. So everybody's going to want to stand on top of the box in it. And your last four guys there, Jesse Reese, Bass, and Finn, all looking for glory. We've seen Jesse win downhills. We've seen Finn win enduros. Could be anything. What's going to happen? The only way to find out is to tune in live. Check it out after this show. We're going to check back in with our fans of the week. We've got Catherine Pendrell and Kylie Stewart. They are standing by and looking very classy, ladies, for the downhill day.
Ready for analysis?
All right. So, Catherine, you were saying earlier, your focus is cross-country racing, has been for a long time. But one of the things I think maybe you're selling yourself a little short, you kill it on the descents on the downhill track. So I want to talk to you a little bit about tomorrow, the Air DH. Do you ride first of all, when in between training, do you get to ride the Sun Peaks bike park?
Not as much as I would like to. Definitely, I'm typically away most of the park season. However, I did get to do one of the Canadian Enduro Series races there, and that was awesome just because the trails, even though Jesse said they're fast and flowy, I think they're rugged and fast. So they definitely are making you think a lot, and just really enjoyed. Normally I'm on a 100 mil bike, so getting to hop on 160 mil and check out those trails is a pretty fun experience.
All right. And outside, the bike park is in prime shape. All the athletes saying it's so good. Kylie, can you run us through the Air DH track for tomorrow? What's it look like? What trails it on? Who's going to take it?
It's pretty sweet. It's got some big jumps. I think should be interesting to see. Some of those jumps you're going to need to scrub pretty big because the lips are definitely steep. So as far as like women's go, I think Casey is going to be one of the best for that. She's got the bike handling skills to really soak those up. And for the men, it's just going to be full on. I think those big jumps are going to be crazy at that speed.
Well, yeah, hard to bet against Casey Brown when there are jumps involved. Whip-offs, Air DH, Enduro. So there's nothing that woman can't do, and we're going to see it again. Catherine and Kylie, thanks for joining us today. We are going to have you guys back on the show tomorrow. We're going to discuss what happened today, plus going into Air DH. So thank you for joining us, fans of the week, co-hosts, and bring your hats back. You guys are looking good, and we're wrapping up the series here, so it's important. You want to be good, you got to look good. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
All right, stay classy.
All right, so we are going into racing. You're going to be watching. You're going to be tuning in if you want to stay right on the raw edge of what's going on. The Insta stories at Crankworx are minute by minute, keeping you up to date. Let us know what you're doing. Hashtag Crankworx from home. Make sure that your friends who aren't watching know that you are, if you can see what's going on. But across all the platforms at Crankworx, it's going to be a perfect day in Sun Peaks for the Maxxis downhill, Sun Peaks downhill. It's going to be so sick. We've got lots to come. Cam McCall, Elliot Jackson bringing us all the action from the downhill today right after this. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Crankworx Connect from Fanatico Bike Shop in Whistler. We're signing out. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Time to step up and be the fastest from the start to the finish.
marks, all of them.
Trying to make a run for the overall for sure. Try to be consistent everywhere.
That's the biggest lesson. Don't give up.
Welcome back, race fans. What in the world are we going to do when this is all over? I have no clue, but I know exactly what we're going to be doing for the next 2 days, and that is putting a lid on this CLIF Crankworx Summer Series. It's been a heck of a ride, and things are now about to culminate at Sun Peaks Resort near Kamloops, BC, a bike park that so many people I've heard praising over the years. As a nice little scaled down version of Whistler. If you haven't ridden it, everybody says you got to. Where is it? Well, it's just northeast of the birthplace of Crankworx, Whistler, BC. Northeast, a little bit northeast of Kamloops, BC as well, in a nice little town of Sun Peaks. I am excited to watch the racing here today because I can't wait to watch these trails in action. And I'm excited to see what these race results do to the overall standings because this story continues to progress and we definitely have some interesting battles on our hands. I'm your host, Cam McCall, alongside my partner in crime, Elliot Jackson. Elliot, finally, after a few days off, we got some racing to watch. What's up?
Oh man, I feel like this has become a ritual. Like I miss you over the weekends, but I'm excited to get back into it. Sun Peaks, I went there in 2010, and it's still one of probably the top 5 places I've ever ridden in my life. I can't wait to get back there at some point, and I really can't wait to see what these world-class racers can do on the track.
I know, I'm in the same boat as you, except I haven't ridden there, so that's one thing I need to make sure I fix within the next couple years.
Go.
But I'm excited right now to take a look back at what some of the racing that we didn't get to see on live broadcast, how that went. We've already had the Enduro, we'd already had the dual slalom. Enduro was first, so let's take this opportunity to get caught up on how that went and how that shook up the overall standings. Take a look.
You happy the Enduros are done?
Yeah. Happy to take the chairlift now.
Oh, it was so hard. It was just physically a lot harder than the other ones. The stages here were long, really high speed, big hits where you want to be strong, but if you're like a little tired because we pushed on an uphill, you're wobbly, so lots of moments, but somewhat clean for me today.
Really sick course actually. Lots of different parts to it. Physical, super fast dipping trails. Trying to go fast and Finn is just Finn. I feel like he's riding at like a very high EWS pace and he doesn't even know it, so.
Pretty big day. I think this one was the most pedaling, most physical stages, like I think 20 or so minutes of racing, so that's the longest one we've had in the last 3 weeks. And I don't know, I find this stuff's just really fun because you're just out there riding your bike, and that's sort of the best thing out there.
Those trails look so good, Elliot. There's over 2,000 vertical feet of terrain at Sun Peaks Bike Park, some of the steepest and rowdiest lift access trails in BC. And I'm jealous right now. I am very jealous. They've always had the steep and rugged stuff, but they've been putting in more bike parky, bermed out, jumpy stuff. And look at this. Don't you want to just be in the midst of this gaggle of geese right there heading toward the lift?
Man, there's nothing better. Like watching Finn ride the trails there is like perfect conditions, that overcast. I think all the riders, even though they were talking about how physical it is, they were also talking about how good the trails were. Just see the bikes working, and man, it just makes me want to be there.
I know, I agree. Well, they've obviously got all the trails to hold the races, but if you're going to be one of the stops on the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series, you need a slalom course, right? So they put in a slalom course. We have the results. I've seen who won, who got second, third, and fourth, but I haven't actually got to see any footage of this. So for the first time, let's take a look at a recap from the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series dual slalom at Sun Peaks.
Really good. It feels like a relief. It's funny, it's not like this kind of win where you're just like, yes, I won it. It's more like a, okay, it's another one out of the way. And then having the upper edge on that one feels good. I feel like I've been slowly caught up onto, so it's been stressing me out a little bit. So this feels nice.
Feels good. It was a pretty tricky track. Like the grass corners were quite slippery, and that's kind of where you made up for lost time. So yeah, no, it was sick. I'm stoked to take the win.
So Bas van Steenbergen taking the win, but Finn Isles grabbing those 85 points for second and earning himself enough points to lock up the overall series. Even though we have 2 more races left to go today, the Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill, Finn making it statistically impossible for anybody to surpass him. How impressive, right, Elliot?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he definitely won the war there. But the next 3, Bas, Reese, and Jesse are still right in the mix. Anyone's game for second.
That's the big story coming in today's downhill, is who's going to shake up in that 2, 3, and 4 position. But the big story overall is definitely reaching people all around the world. Somebody decided to create this meme right here. Finn, of course he'd be liking to, hang out with his main squeeze downhill racing on the UCI World Cup, but this Crankworx thing is pretty appealing. And I think he's been having himself a heck of a time for the past 3 weeks, and another big old trophy to his collection. So Finn Isles,
I don't know if I expect myself to be in the position that I'm in now. I feel like I've sort of
series.
exceeded my own expectations, but I found that right from the beginning, it's just been really fun. And after getting that first win, it was sort of just getting the momentum going. And I feel like the environment here, everybody's having fun. Nobody's really at odds or anything. So I feel like that's really productive and allows everybody to have a good time. And I think that's been good for me.
So crazy, Elliot. I was looking at all the results here, and he's only missed 1 podium out of all these races. We got 2 left to go, so that's 10 races, and that was just a result of one quick crash there last week at downhill. But man, can't wait to see what kind of shakeups we have in the points between the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. The Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill coming up after the break.
Discover the best trails in the world. Trailforks. Download the app today.
Well, we got to thank all the companies that are making the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series a possibility. Of course, CLIF Bar. You couldn't have CLIF Crankworx Summer Series without CLIF Bar. Send it, whip it, and keep on with CLIF Bar. And Maxxis, big thanks to Maxxis for supporting the tour, getting their riders out here. Tread victoriously with Maxxis. And keeping with the BC theme, designed and tested in British Columbia, big thank you goes out to Norco Bicycles. All right, getting closer to action here, Elliot, in our Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill. You know it's going to be a good course when they're taking place at Sun Peaks Resort out there. I've definitely seen video parts of Sun Peaks over the years, but to get a better idea of exactly what this course is, I mean, I can look and see that it's going to be running on Insanity 1 to Sticky 1 to Honey Drop to Resurrection. But what does that mean if we haven't ridden there? For all those people out there who are watching and haven't ridden these trails, we should probably put a camera on Trevor Burke, have him ride down with Finn Isles and Miranda for the Stands No Tubes course preview. Check it out.
What's up, party people? Trev Burke here with GT Bikes. It's downhill day at the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series, and today I'm going to be showing you some line choices with some of the best in the biz. Finn Isles, Miranda Miller. Let's go get your stance course preview done of the Maxxis downhill course. Let's check it out. Alright, following Finn Isles in the downhill course. Got a little failure to start you off. Coming into this little step down around the corner. Pop that. First wood section with some options.
I'm saying, come off this little drop, I'm saying far left, like left of this rock in the middle, and then cutting high off that root to hit the last turn.
Yeah, so I agree with what Miranda said, and I think you have to slow up a little bit too much to get inside, plus this rock's in the way, and this way you can just carry your speed, you don't have to brake too much.
Back in. Take my line, Finn's gonna take his. Point inside there. Woo.
Yeah, so you come in, you kind of got to shut it down a little bit, and then I've been setting up skimming this high line across these roots. So like here, I've been going middle. So just middle across this rock and then drop off that root at the end.
Open up high over these roots.
This section is actually one of the scariest sections of the entire course in my eyes. And you have about 2 or 3 lines here. You have the inside of the outside, and then down there you also have the inside of the outside, and then it drops off a little rock roll. I feel like I can carry really good speed through this outside, and then the inside gives you the most direct route dropping this rock roll. You want to do all your braking through this section here, through this like nice dirt, so that when you get to this drop, you can basically just release the brakes, drop in, and then rail this corner because you got to carry speed down the next section.
Okay. I drop in, follow Finn through his line, outside, this high inside, and then drop off this rock, Aspen. Go to this section, and this steep little chute here, get rocky. Drop into the last section of the trail here. Pretty high speed you come in at. Couple jumps, you get your flow going. Straight to the off camber section. Sprint to the finish. Okay guys, that's your stance course preview of the Maxxis downhill. Hope you enjoyed seeing Finn and Miranda's hotlines. It's gonna be a great race. The course is amazing.
Course is amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
There we go, a big endorsement from the man who won the overall himself. That is a great looking racetrack. As you see, our top women boarding the lift to get up there and do some racing. Of course, there's a lot to be disrupted here at this race, I would say. This is the second to last race, and if you look at how close some of these numbers are here, ALN in particular only 40 points back from Casey Brown. Things can change here, Elliot.
Yeah, it's so true. I think, you know, ALN kind of is within striking distance and kind of only has upside. Miranda's, you know, she is a little bit farther behind. And Via, I think for the mental side of it, she's taking this super seriously. Casey with a completely different approach. And it's kind of down to the wire, right? Like each person, we kind of know their personality, and I think it'll show on this downhill race.
Yes, and this downhill course, it's not the first time this has been raced. I mean, the Canadian Nationals have been held on this course as well. So a very, very worthy track. So with Via Verbeek leading the charge right now and so many athletes within striking distance, we had to catch up with her if she's feeling any of the pressures. Have a listen.
I'm not actually sure how I feel every day. It's like, usually I try to really not think too much about the overall and just treat each race as its own and just have fun, because when it's fun, it's good. But honestly, yeah, I think we're just so drained and tired that now I can't have control over that mental aspect, and I'm falling into this like stressful tunnel of like, you know, I'm getting less and less of a lead and I could lose it, it's mine to lose, you know, those things that I really shouldn't see this way, and try to convince myself that it's rather I have the upper hand and I am in a good spot. So yeah, it's a constant battle, and I find that having less energy has been harder to deal with.
So it'll be interesting to see how she's able to just kind of put all the stresses and the pressures and the fatigue aside and try to finish out on top. But we're getting close to racing here right now. Take a look at our start list for the men. Seth Sherlock will be the first to drop. He's had some mechanical issues the last couple weeks, so looking for him to kind of finish off strong here. And then we will finish this race with the man who's already clinched the overall, Finn Isles. But we're getting a look right now at our first rider to drop at the top of the course right now, the youngster out of Squamish, BC, Seth Sherlock.
Yeah, you know, this is the last true downhill race where the riders are going to be on their downhill bikes. So I know riders like Seth are going to really put everything into it. And one thing to take a look on about this course, the looks are so deceiving, because when you ride it, it's not a track that's hard to ride, but it's such a, you know, there's so many things, right? Like you see Seth pumping there, Finn talking about different braking points, and so that's the kind of stuff that the riders are going to be paying attention to here, rather than just going all out and trying to, you know, lay it on the line.
So many different tech sections in the woods, but I watched a different POV of this racetrack when they were prepping it for the Canadian National Champs race. And there's a lot of connectors as well, a lot of flat connectors where you want to be maintaining that speed, and a lot of pedaling too.
Oh yeah, look at him go, man. Like you talk about
pushing a hard gear there, isn't he?
He is.
Well, Seth Sherlock, the first to cross the line, so obviously he'll be sitting in the hot seat. The big question is for how long? A pretty long track here, 4 minutes and 41 seconds, the time to beat after our first rider crossed the finish line. Well, guess what? If you've been following us the last 3 weeks, you know that you're not going to just have to listen to me and Elliot do this. We usually bring in a third member of the team, and we've been pulling people from all over the world, all different backgrounds. Today, we got a very special guest. How about we welcome in current world champion, overall series points leader from the 2019 UCI Downhill Series, Loic Bruni. What up, Loic?
Hello guys, I'm super happy to be here. Finally back to kind of racing, not riding, but commenting is also pretty good. So we're excited.
Well, it's great to have you. It's going to be cool to be able to get your perspective on this race. But Elliot, you guys are both hanging out at home wishing you were racing. Let's hear what you got for Loic here.
I know. I have to support. I feel like I've been watching a couple of races. I've been watching a couple of races in France, so I feel like I got to live vicariously through you for all
Nice.
the short races that you guys have been doing over there.
Yeah, man, I like the hat. I didn't see it. Sorry, I was focused on myself looking. I was like, but,
Of course you were.
yeah.
Of course you were.
I know you like a lot of Frenchies and you like everyone pretty much, but I'm so happy you're supporting France tonight. And even though we're racing in Canada, go French.
Well, great, Loic. Good to see that the connection's working. We got you right there. So we're going to be throwing some questions at you as we progress through the downhill race here. But back to business. A lot of these racers coming from different backgrounds. One that we were really focusing on here for downhill is Mark Wallace. He's the guy that everybody's going to be leaning on for advice on how to set up your bike. So we got a little input from him on how he's been setting his bike up for these races. Take a listen.
I think my approach to testing is like always open to new things, but then I always kind of keep like the most recent base setting that I know is good sort of in the back pocket. So like if I'm working on something and I'm not 100% confident yet and I need to go to a race, I have like that base setting that I know is good and I can fall back on until the next generation of whatever we're working on is I'm fully confident in it.
So with this being the third of 3 stops, Mark has had plenty of time to set his bike up. We've kind of been waiting for that big result from Mark, haven't we, Elliot?
Yeah, it's so true. You were talking about Canadian national champs, and last time we were here, probably one of the last times they had a big race here was 2016 when Mark Wallace got second to Kirk McDowell by around half a second. And Loic, for me, Mark is one of those like super technically gifted riders. How do you see Mark Wallace?
Yeah, actually, I've been riding with him last winter when I went to Victoria on Vancouver Island, and I was so surprised because I never got to ride with him. And the speed of this guy is unreal, and the thing he's able to do on Mont Prévost, their home mountain, is insane. So I took a little slam in the face looking at these guys riding and not being able to follow them all winter. So really impressed by Mark. He's been like turning around the podium so many times and landing on it. So I'm wishing him the best. And I know he's physical too, so this track might be good for him. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. And I think too, like Cam was talking about, what do you think it is about, how Mark can be close to the podium and then come to a Crankworx and not kind of blow everyone out of the water?
Yeah, I think mentally, wait, the time, what's time? Oh, that's time.
Man, that's insane. Okay, just kind of speaking to your point there, Elliot, is first of all, it's weird to see Mark drop in so early in a reverse order type of scenario, but to only crack into the hot seat by 0.3 seconds ahead of Seth Sherlock there, I don't know if that time's going to hold up here. We've got so many more to go.
I feel like Seth was doing a really fast sprint at the end, so maybe
he was.
He's on a good pace.
So the next rider who's going to be gearing up at the top of the course right now is Henry Fitzgerald, the guy who's, man, definitely made history on this series right now by grabbing the win at Psychosis. And so we caught up with him for some of his perspective.
I don't know. I wouldn't call it like a necessarily takeaway from the event, but just like, I don't know, coming out and just like focusing more on having fun, I feel helps my riding and just like overall life so much, and just like definitely been reinforced in these few weeks where we have so much stuff packed in, like just kind of like keeping it all focused around fun is just huge for me.
Well, Henry Fitzgerald looking to have fun and enjoy this run right here. He's got one gigantic souvenir that he'll be packing with him after this CLIF Crankworx Summer Series. That's that Psychosis win, but I'm sure he'd love to add another win to the tally. Henry Fitzgerald on course.
Yeah, and I remember when I came here years and years ago, that Insanity downhill was just insane. So I know a lot of these Canadian riders have ridden it, and you could see Henry really like getting some good pumps.
Yeah.
Not quite pedaling as much. Loic, how do you know when to pedal and when to tuck? like?
Well, the secret is to feel the ground. Like if you can feel you're accelerating by pumping, you should not pedal. And sometimes like this kind of section is so gnarly to hit the pedal, you better not try. And actually, I'm surprised of the way he's riding. He's riding super like aero, trying to gain speed, and he still has some juice for the last sprint. Look at that.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's got
wow.
plenty of time to work
Yeah.
with as well. Henry Fitzgerald through the line into the hot seat by 10.5 seconds. Man, now that one might hold up for a little while. I don't know.
That's what you were saying, Elliot. I don't know. I feel like Mark Waters is just chilling, waiting for the World Cup and stuff. But yeah, Henry smoked him.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
that's wild. Is that a thing though? Like, would you chill and like then wait
Yeah.
for a World Cup? You would.
Well, I feel like if there would be categories of rider, I would be a little bit the same category as Mark. When you ride for fun and when there's events like that, that you are struggling to get fully committed and focused because it's kind of popping out of nowhere, a new calendar, new schedule and stuff, and you just not ready for it. And guys like Finn and obviously Henry are able to just go for it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Well,
And
Henry
especially
Fitzgerald
on a
obviously went for it in that run. We're going to see if his time can hold up. Next rider to take to this course, Remy Gauvin. He's definitely one who hasn't grabbed one of those memorable moments from the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series. He's looking to get a big result before he heads back home to Squamish and see what he's got.
That's so true. I mean, and to Loic's point, like Remy is also one of those guys who can take home, you know, an EWS podium or win. And so I know they're trying to have some races later this year. So it's definitely one of those things where, do you risk it in the Crankworx series? But at the same time, you're a racer, so like you can't just not try.
Well, I feel like the track is kind of suited for enduro bikes, so maybe we can see some fast enduro guys today, but Remy is a bit off pace, I think.
Bit off pace as that green clock ticks away. Remy Gauvin will not take the lead, but where will he be sitting? How will he stack up against Sherlock, Mark Waltz, and Henry Fitzgerald? Right into, well, second place. Geez, still back by 10 seconds. But wow, very similar time there between second and third place.
What is he up to?
Man, exactly. What is he up to? That's what everybody was thinking during Psychosis as well.
This guy.
Somebody came to play today.
He did. He came to play.
All right. Well, we're going to get into the women's field here before we pick up the final few riders in the men. But a first little taste of what the men's field is looking like right there. And man, it's going to be interesting to see if guys like McKay Vesna, Casper Woolley, Kirk McDowell, Jesse Melmed, Reese Verner, Van Steenbergen, and Finn Isles can grab that time. But with 10 seconds between him and second and third, Henry Fitzgerald is looking good. But more racing action coming your way. We got the women's category after the break. Stick around.
It's like walking into a postcard here. It's got those classic BC ingredients that make it awesome for shredding. Brown pow, real white pow in the winter, whatever you want, it's got it here. Oh, I love it here. Sun Peaks rocks, and I'll always come back. I always go home and tell my wife, that was the best time I've ever had at Sun Peaks. And she's like, you say that every time. I'm like, oh, I mean it each and every time.
Unlike our bikes, culture cannot be engineered. It grows from within. Pivot Cycles is a company founded on a commitment to building only the world's best performing mountain bikes. But Pivot Cycles is a company thriving because of deeply committed people who have come together in a way best described as, well, a family.
Discover the best trails in the world. Crankworx. Download the app today.
When it's time to travel again, safely take a trip somewhere outside your ordinary. A journey beyond your own backyard, where people you've just met say, "It's nice to see you," and make you feel like you're in the nicest place with the nicest people. And when you say goodbye, it's like saying bye to family. That's when you know it's more than traveling. It's Canada, where it's always nice to see you.
Well, we got to throw out a big thank you to the Secwepemc people allowing us to compete on their traditional territory, and of course all the companies making the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series possible. ODI, the world leader in grip technology, Stands, No Tubes for giving us these amazing course previews, and Giant. Ride Unleashed with Giant and Liv. So if you look at our current standings right now for this men's category in the Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill, there's one man at the top of the leaderboard who's smashing the competition by over 10 seconds right now. Very, very impressive. We're going to take this opportunity to fire a couple questions at him. He's sitting down there in the hot seat comfortably with that headset on. So, Henry, we know there's rumors floating around about a prototype downhill bike you just smashed by 10 seconds. Still a lot more racers to go, but is that bike working for you on this trail here, and what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I can't really say much about the bike other than it's doing really good. And yeah, just like getting comfortable with it, and we still haven't had much time on it, but yeah, just kind of scratching the surface of what we can do with it, but like I think really exciting things to come, and yeah, already feeling good on it.
We're kind of blown away by the gap you put on the field right now. Obviously, we haven't sent that many riders, but would you say that this racetrack is more suited for a downhill bike or an enduro bike? A few riders choosing to ride that trail bike out here.
A downhill race, of course it's going to be suited for a downhill bike, you know?
Yes, Henry. Well, perfect. We're going to see if all the challengers can even shake a stick at that time. But we got some women coming at you right now as we focus our attention over to our start list for the women. It looks like we're first going to have, I know, Ayurko, the youngster, who's going to be trying to take down the Giants here at the top of this leaderboard, huh? Look at that, Elliot. We're going to be finishing strong here with our top two ladies.
It's so true, and I think you mentioned Ayurko. It's so cool for these younger riders to get to be in the mix with veterans like Casey and Via and ALN to really get to see their process, see how they perform, and really just, get in the mix.
So Via's sitting at the top of the leaderboard right there. She's definitely won a lot of events in the past 3 weeks, but of course she would have loved to win them all. We caught up with her on, the quest for domination, but now just hoping she can hold on until the final conclusion of this CLIF Crankworx Summer Series.
I don't feel like I'm dominating the series. I think I had a strong start, and I knew that it was going to be hard to hold on to it, and it's kind of been going smaller and smaller of a gap every week. So yeah, no, I don't think I'm dominating whatsoever. I think I got to stay on my toes for this one. I would be really stoked to get this overall. I think I've worked towards that. I've definitely put the time for those events. I still had my weaknesses, and that showed, but that would be kind of like the regular Crankworx, where this is what I worked for, and so it'd be sweet to see it pay off.
So sometimes it's fun to be the underdog, isn't it? It's kind of hard to be the one with the target on your back. There's only 70 points separating Via Verbeek, the current leader, and Casey Brown, who's sitting in second, who's been gaining momentum. So it would be interesting to hear what Casey's mindset is coming into this same 2 races with a completely separate set of circumstances. So listen up what Casey had to say.
It's been really cool to just get to know everyone better, because I mean, a lot of the time we're all traveling in different places and doing different races. So yeah, it's awesome just to get to know all our BC talent here. And
so, Loic, this is where I want to ask you a question, because you've won world champs 3 times. That's like the epitome of pressure right there. One race determines if you're wearing those rainbow stripes or somebody else is. What do you do with your mindset? How do you focus in with so much riding on a tiny little, 1 race, 2 races, like the situation our racers are in today?
Well, it's a tough question. I'm trying to know exactly how I do it on one day to replicate it on the whole World Cup season. And I feel like every year at the end of the season, I'm getting nostalgic, and I'm really trying to focus on being successful on the last races, enjoying everything I can before we all head home, pretty much. So at the end of the season, I just feel like I'm reaching my potential, and I'm just enjoying fully the experience, I would say. And I know it matters, and that's coming back to what Elliot was saying before about Mark Wallace, that is not fully in the mix right now because maybe his head is on World Champs or the World Cup, and it's hard to allow your focus on other events. So yeah, mine is on World Champs too, so that's why I'm not racing some French Cups right now. And hopefully we get to race it, and I get to battle to defend my title.
Absolutely. It's cool to hear your perspective. There's so many different chapters in the trajectory of a racer's career. Now, at chapter 1 is a young racer who grew up in Spain. She's lived in Canada for the last few years. I know Ayurko, it's got to be interesting for her racing against all these heavy hitters. This is what, well, she's hanging out at the start of the course right now. There she is, the youngster out of Squamish, only 18 years of age, going up against the top dogs like Via Verbeek and Casey Brown.
Yeah, I think for a lot of the younger racers, and the men and the women, you see most of them had probably a crash, maybe a little bit of a mishap, a little bit of an inconsistency, and I think that kind of comes with the territory of, there's like no practice. All these riders are trying to figure out how to learn the track in a day, and I think that's kind of where the experience plays in. But Erica's been doing crazy good. Getting the tuck on here.
Loic, when you were a junior racer, I know that your junior career ended well with a world championship title, but when you were just a youngster coming up through the ranks, what was it like to be elbow to elbow with some of your heroes?
Man, it was the best. I couldn't believe it because I was also a teammate with Blanky, my biggest idol ever. And when I was starting just behind Minar or Sam Hill, whatever, I was just part of it, and it felt so good.
So that's the situation for, I know, Ayurko right now, who crosses the line. First rider to drop, so first rider to take to that hot seat. The time to beat now, a 5 minute 30 seconds.
She had a good pedal at the end there.
Yeah, she was fresh.
Fresh.
The dog is like, what's happening here, man?
Oh, that's Snuff. That's Casey Brown's dog right there. Good old Snuff still hanging. That's good to see. So another one of our young racers, Lucy Schlick. This is an eye-opening experience for her as well. We threw a camera in front of her face to talk about it.
The hardest thing is probably just staying recovered and on top of it. It's a lot of racing. Usually you do 1 week of racing and you have 2 days of practice and 2 days of racing. This is 4 days every single day of practice and racing. So yeah, getting enough sleep, eating enough, stretching enough, staying healthy, and not getting too tired.
I love all these interviews, Elliot. It's like everybody has to touch on recovering and not getting too tired. You imagine how beat they are after 3 weeks of 4 races per week. They're just so tired, and the light is at the end of the tunnel here. And Lucy Schick, another opportunity to try to grab some experience and possibly a result.
It's so true. Like, and I think one thing to note is when they talk about fatigue and being tired, it's not just the physical part of it, it's the mental part of it. It's like she was saying, getting the sleep, getting the food, getting the rest, and like being able to turn off. And maybe look, you kind of know about that. Like if you're, even when you go to World Champs, adding that extra day of practice and then getting kind of the mental recovery is so different.
Yeah, big time. You don't feel it, but then when it comes finals, your body is just exhausted and then you just lose power on everything, and it can be really bad, pretty costful.
So,
but I can't believe it. They have only 1 day of
seconds here to cross the finish line. I believe she's a bit too far up the hill to be able to pull that off as we watch the timer tick by. She won't be taking the hot seat here today, so Ayurko, she'll be feeling good about being the youngest and dodging a bullet.
Yeah, Eriko is like pinned on the pedal at the bottom there. You could tell, like like Loic said, she's crashed.
So there we have it, Lucy Schick across the line, 11 seconds back, perhaps some issues up there. She'll slot into second place as we focus on our next competitor. She's been very, very impressive throughout this past 3 weeks. Georgia Astle grabbing some results. One in particular, Psychosis, a second place. That'll be one that will be a great memory for her as she looks back on CLIF Crankworx Summer Series. But if you're looking at all the results, DH is definitely her strong suit, so it'll be interesting to see if she can slot into the lead here.
Yeah, I think that, you know, Georgia, being a Whistler local, being able to do well at an event like Garbanzo is just, and also being the director of Good Times. I think this kind of event really suits her, and she had a really good result in slalom yesterday as well. You know, to be right behind Via on that is super impressive, especially with those flat turns. I think it kind of speaks to her level of technical ability. Start gate a little flimsy there.
So Georgia Astle sitting 5th place in the overall right now. That 2nd place in the slalom definitely helping her cause. You know, she would love a few more points here from the downhill, but look at this split.
Oh, I love it. We got splits. Yeah, I wonder, you know, after watching the course preview, it seems like that top section kind of is a little bit faster, and then we kind of, and a little bit more technical, and then we get into the really flowy stuff, the connectors like you were talking about.
I mean, I'm impressed right now by Ayurko. I mean, she's 17 years old, and, you know, we've been watching her for the past 3 weeks thinking, oh, this is great experience, but look at this, she's putting some time on Georgia Astle right now.
It's so true. Like, I love how unpredictable downhill is, because there's like, you could just have this insane run, and Georgia is going to be super close.
Oh, it's going to be tight.
Oh, man. Wow, was that close? 0.8.
That's awesome.
So, I know Ayurko, like, she's like, wait, really? I get to stay here?
Yeah, good job, though. Fuck you.
So here's the way it looks, the big picture here, the war. Of course, we got all these little battles right now. It's all about the Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill. But winning the war, leading the charge right now via Verbeek. Close behind Casey Brown, then ALN. The big opportunity really is for ALN, isn't it, Elliot? But next to drop, Miranda Miller. Now, Loic Bruni used to be teammates with Miranda. What can you tell us about her approach?
She's the best character I've met in my life. She's the coolest girl around. And when she races, she can be like pretty, I would say, like surprising. When she won Worlds, she just was flying. So hopefully today she gets to do that. Call me Miranda.
Every time we get a soundbite from Miranda, we're always laughing. So that seems about right. Such a good character and such a fast downhill racer with so many accomplishments. It would be very, very impressive for Ayurko if she was still sitting in the hot seat this run. Whoa!
Okay, here we go. She's on the fire run.
What do you think,
That's what I'm saying.
Miranda?
She can be.
No, go ahead.
She can be just. Sometimes you will see her struggling to get the speed, and sometimes she will just feel so road speed, like insanely high, so you don't know how to advise her, you know? Just in her mind. It's in her mind.
You like, all right, I'm gonna go and do it faster, and you look back, she's like, all right, I'm waiting.
But
for
have
you
you
to do it
noticed
fast,
how she's ventilating hard?
Yes, we hear her every downhill race. We can hear her. The cameras pick up the sound of her breathing.
That's a
Obviously,
good run.
working for her as she crosses the line with a
That's
convincing lead over 14 seconds. Miranda Miller holding the new time to beat.
Oh, I want Miranda to win. Sorry, I have to pick a side. Miranda.
Well, she's been coming.
She's only got to dodge 3 more competitors if she wants to take that win. ALN, Casey Brown, Via Verbeek, the last 3 to go.
I miss her on the downhill races. She chose enduro for the last year, and I'm like, come on, man, come back.
Such a good downhill racer, and you know what? She hasn't won a race yet on this series, so this could be that chance right here. She's been close in the enduro.
Nice.
This could be the chance right here with a gap like that. What was it, 14 seconds? That was a heater of a run. All right, so next rider to take to the course right now. She's been so impressive the entire CLIF Crankworx Summer Series. She is on the rise, sitting currently in 3rd place in the overall. What do you think about ALN here, Elliot?
Yeah, every time I see that picture of her, I feel like it really says like the way that she's been handling Crankworx. She's 70 points back, but she was 75 points back after the first week. So if you take that out of it, she is right there in the mix. You know, she's winning races, either 2nd place, and right there, it feels like she's been getting. Wow, 19 psi. That's so low.
I don't know, but I like the fact they show the tiles they're using.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, knock on wood, talking about that 19 psi. If she gets a flat, it's your fault.
Okay, no. That's definitely you bringing that up.
All right, huge opportunity for ALN right now to mix things up in the overall standings. As we said, she's sitting in 3rd place, within striking distance of Casey Brown for that 2nd place spot. And if crazy stuff happens to Via, you never know, she could climb even higher. This is downhill racing. Anything could happen. She looks like she's on a good run.
Yeah, like she's got super good pedals out of the woods there, and it's so important because that's your whole speed for that whole connector section and into the woods. This track is really about trying to carry your speed. Looks like she's a bit outside.
Whoa. So Miranda Miller, her time is standing up by at least 6.8 seconds now is the final gap between ALN and Miranda. So that just gives us perspective right now how incredibly fast that run was from Miranda Miller. With only 2 athletes to go, Miranda Miller secures herself at least a bronze medal spot.
Yeah, and those two have been going back and forth. You know, ALN, especially in the enduro, it was ALN took it last week, but you know, their stage times, it was like Miranda would win one and then ALN would win one, so they seem like they've developed a bit of a rivalry here.
All right, so this is do or die scenario right now for our next racer to take to the course. She's sitting in 2nd place. She's had a great past 3 weeks with a win in the Silver Star Enduro. She also had a win last week in the downhill at Kicking Horse. She's been slowly climbing her way up close to Via Verbeek, who has been absolutely on a tear. But Casey Brown, she's almost been building momentum this whole time. As you can see, she's enthusiastic in that start gate.
Yeah, man. She's one of those people that can just turn it on. Like, you know, in her interview, she's talking about how it's great to just hang out, get to know people, but she can race, you know. Look, when you think about that, like those people that can just turn it on, you wouldn't expect. Is that something that you try to do, or is that kind of unique to each person?
Well, I'm trying to like turn it on each time I can, but it's super hard to be able to switch the brain off, kind of. And I feel like Casey's definitely someone that can do that. Like she's just sending it.
She just sends it everywhere, and she's a little bit back at the first split.
Yeah, she's a little bit back, but I feel like there's still like a big minute to go. So.
Oh, look,
yeah,
she's got some time here. So a top 5 would allow her to hold on to that second place spot after we just saw ALN Cross currently sitting in second place. A win could potentially put her in the lead of the overall as she hammers down through the finish line. The clock tipping. Look at this. She's got some time to work with that second place, though. So close. What's it going to be? Wow. Just barely. Casey Brown slots into that second spot. But Casey Brown, okay, she's doing what she needs to do to maintain. She had an opportunity to overtake, but Miranda Miller now guaranteed at least a second place.
Yeah, and it's one of those times where, you know, via last person down the hill, the fear of kind of being that last person, knowing that you have to perform, like she was saying in her interview, it's kind of hers to lose. It's only down from here, kind of thing.
So, Loic, you were talking about. Loic, you were talking about how Miranda is a downhill specialist, and when you see her going toward enduro, you're like, "What are you doing? It's downhill, downhill." It looks like she's definitely doing what you'd expect from her right now. As we have one final competitor to take to the course, she's the overall standings leader in the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series, and if she wins here, she's going to be looking pretty good. Casey Brown would have needed a win, which isn't going to happen with Casey Brown currently sitting in second place, but via Verbeek, it's kind of in her.
Yeah, right.
The ball's in her court now.
Man, she's getting a little bit of a run up there. That's good. I like it.
Sneaky shot. I feel like Miranda might take it today. She's been firing it down the hill.
We'll get to see it. Oh no!
There's a chance.
You can see, like she does, like, and she's getting all those pumps in. Look at it, everyone else is tucking there. She's pedaling. She knows she's got to pin it.
So bad.
She's impressive.
Yeah. She is really. You can kind of see a bit of the speed difference in some of these, especially these flat sections.
Yeah, she was talking about being tired, but she looks really fresh to me.
Oh my, look at how much time she has to play with here.
Oh, it's still gonna be.
Via Verbeek, last rider down the track. She crosses the finish line with the fastest time by 3.5 seconds. Look at that, Via Verbeek proving it's no fluke. She's been at the top of that leaderboard for so long. She wants this so bad, and she just did exactly what she needed to do to hold on to that lead with one race to go in the entire series.
Man, she did exactly what she needed to do. Give herself a little bit of a cushion to tomorrow. But, you know, Miranda, again, in second place. It's just like, feels good, but feels bad.
Oh, so many podiums here in the past 3 weeks for Miranda Miller. She wants that win so bad, and this would have been a prime opportunity to take it. But the determination of Via Verbeek, once again, shining through as she takes the win for the women by a gap of 3.5 seconds. Casey Brown grabbing that third place. Going to be really interesting when we crunch the numbers going into one more race to go. But the men in the Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill coming up after the break.
Discover the best trails in the world. Trailforks. Download the app today.
Welcome back. We just saw the final run of our Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill for the women, and we saw a very familiar sight, which was Via Verbeek. A big smile on her face as she took yet another win, and this is what it did to the overall standings, Elliot.
Yeah, she, even if Casey, got first, she is still, in A1. I'm just trying to do math.
If Casey
right?
got first tomorrow, Via would have to not race, and she would tire. So, I mean, it's
Totally.
like mathematically possible to tie, but very, very unlikely. So Via Verbeek, we have her on a headset right now. Via, insane performance out there. This is becoming a very familiar conversation. You with the headset on, standing next to that hot seat. My question for you is this. In that final straightaway, you looked so determined. What's going through your head as you're digging deep there? Are you pushing through the exhaustion, or do you have some energy left after 3 weeks of this nonsense?
It's funny, I find that today and yesterday it feels like I'm just like a total cooked noodle all day, but as soon as I'm on the bike, I realize that I actually have some strength left in me, and so it's cool how my body's just kind of like turning on at the right time. And there's only tomorrow left, so I'm definitely giving everything I got in every pedal section, everywhere. Just why not? Let's just do it.
Well, great. It's almost like it sounds like your adrenaline knows when to fire. Just insane performance out there today, Via. We wish you all the best. We were looking at the numbers, and it's mathematically very improbable that you don't win this overall. Even if you didn't race tomorrow and Casey won, she would tie you. So hopefully you can have a little bit less pressure on your hands for tomorrow's air downhill. We'll be rooting for you, but go get some rest. You what'd you call yourself? A lazy noodle. Thanks a lot. So the men now, I mean, Via Verbeek had such a huge lead coming into this, but there were some probable scenarios where she could be overtaken by Casey. But for the men, it's a completely different story. Your little buddy, Loic, has been absolutely slaying it. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. First of all, we're going to get really jealous and see how much fun you can have hanging out at Sun Peaks before the racing happened with Remy, Jesse, and ALN. Take a look.
Was it edible?
Follow Jesse's. Crashes can happen on your first lap. Pre-ride, re-ride, pre-ride.
Body laps. Oh, I did the worst one. In the middle. Yeah.
This is how I eat a hot wing.
What did we just see? As long as we're 15 feet away from the boat, we're catching fish.
It's not in the wrist, it's all in, it's the arm, or it's even like full body. It's like 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Boom, you're fishing.
We're fishing.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't look good for the fish.
10 feet out, you're fishing.
Oh, good stuff. Great to see Remigo Van, Jesse Melamed, and ALN having a blast out there at Sun Peaks Resort. But we are back to racing. Looks like we got McKay Vesna loaded up in the gate, ready to continue things here for the men in the Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill.
You know, and he's really been heating up over the past couple of weeks as well. Last time he was here, he got 4th in the Canadian National Championships on his trail bike. So this is a course he loves and is super good at, and now he's bumped up a bike onto his downhill bike. So I'm excited to see how he looks. Definitely looks like he's got some good kind of hops and stuff that he's doing to carry speed.
Man, this just watching McKay tuck in that straightaway, it just brings back memories of how charged Via Verbeek was in that same section, just sprinting. McKay Vesna going with the tuck and pump approach.
It's totally true. Like when you're riding, you're like, you don't want to sit down, and you're like, I need to pedal, but I'm tired, but I need to go, and I need to, you know, let's get it going.
So McKay, what's it going to be? He's going to slot into second here, right behind Henry Fitzgerald, who, if you remember, set that insane time of 4.5 minutes. Still sitting at the top of the leaderboard right now. Before McKay dropped, he was over 10 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Everybody's kind of clustered up there. So McKay, the first one to crack through and get a little bit closer to Henry Fitzgerald's time. But still, I mean, a gap of 7 seconds on a course this long, Loic, that's a big gap, right?
Yeah, it's a massive gap, I'd say. But that means that Henry might be in the mix for the win. So pretty exciting to see what the fastest boy like Finn can do.
Exactly, and Casper Woolley, a guy who's been going back and forth with Finn. Of course, he had to sit out a couple races after that injury at Psychosis. Great to see him back. We caught up with them on camera earlier. Check it out.
Yeah, and it seems like Casper has kind of really been coming into his own as well. You know, it's been a little bit up and down, almost winning the downhill the first week, and then being injured, and then right back in the mix with the 4th. So, you know, this race and this series it's been good. I think it would be one of those series and races that you would say he learned a lot, you know, really getting to, no, go ahead.
No, we saw him at the very first stop. It's like what you were saying, second place on the trail bike. And Elliot, how would you compare the Silver Star racetrack to this one? Do you think he can pull out another banger here on this trail bike on this course?
Man, he looks super good. Like, Loic, when you watch people on the downhill, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm trying to see how he's carrying the speed and how he plays with the ground. And this guy's killing it. I didn't know him before this Crankworx series, and I'm happy now I know the guy and killing it. Look at it.
He is.
If it weren't for that injury, he'd have even more of a breakout. But every time he's on the line, he's got a respectable result, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's precise. He's carrying the speed, but it won't be enough to beat Henry.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
true, right?
feel pretty good.
It's so interesting to like when you watch somebody like McKay and then you see Casper coming down right after. Like Casper looked way faster to me than McKay, but like
True.
McKay just being smooth and hitting his lines pretty much the same time.
So each time we see somebody cross that finish line, it just shines a light and amplifies what is already obvious when you look at the clock, that run from Henry Fitzgerald was something special. We still have Kirk McDowell, Jesse Melamed, Reese Verner, Bass Van Steenberger, and Finn Isles to go. Let's talk about that last rider to go there, Loic, your little buddy, the guy that you've toured the world with. Is it great to see him as the big man on campus out here, kind of just ruling the last 3 weeks with an iron fist?
Yeah, it's so good. Well, now he's not so little anymore. He's a pretty massive dude and obviously super strong because being able to win the Enduros against JC and Remy and all these guys is impressive. And yeah, I feel like this is exactly what Finn needs, a little bit of confidence, a boost before the coming to Europe hopefully and race the international downhills. And yeah, it's been in his head, this little kid is just sending it. Doesn't matter if it's a Crankworx series, if there is crowd or not, it's just going super fast and we can see that it suits him really well and yeah, it's so good.
Well, it's been cool to watch him go from a little kid to now, like you say, just a buffed adult who's just, taking names. And it's also really cool to just see his attitude, his perspective. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And we asked him a couple questions about how he's feeling at this stage in the game after already locking up the title.
I think the younger guys, the juniors, I think there's not too many juniors here, but I think that's who can benefit the most because most of the people that are here are already on factory teams. And even the juniors are, but I feel like Canadian juniors don't get as much exposure as they should because the fact of the matter is they live in Canada, they don't live in Europe, so they don't have that access to those bigger European races like IXS Cups. So having having Crankworx here will hopefully bring exposure to those kids because Jacob Jewett's here and Seth Sherlock's here and both of those guys are incredibly fast riders and super talented, and I feel like they get slept on a little bit because it's not like they're not always in the spotlight because they're just they're Canadians, and Seth won a World Cup last year and Jacob's coming into his first year, but he's a super good rider, and I feel like those guys will benefit a lot because even though over the weeks we're racing them, I feel that they can see a lot of things. If they're observant, they can see a lot of things from us and sort of build off of that, or if they ask for advice or something like that. Because Mark's here and he's been racing World Cups for 6 years, and I've been here. I mean, I've only raced World Cups for 3 or 4 years, but I still have advice to give those kids, and I think that they could benefit a lot from this.
Speaking of benefiting, I feel like it's probably been so beneficial for Finn in his career to have you as a teammate, Loic. How does that work? What's that balance like? Just taking somebody under your wing and teaching them the ways. And did you have somebody who did that same thing for you when you were younger?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be in the team while Blinky and Cameron Cole were riding for Latvia back in the day, and they really helped me opening to the New Zealand, the Kiwi guys, and speak English and ride for fun. The French school is a little bit different, but it's funny because every time I see Finn, we disagree and we always fighting each other. And then I don't agree with what he said about juniors in Europe who get more exposure. I feel like he was lucky enough to be with Crankworx and all this Canadian scene. You can also get really good exposure. Medias are there. And now with the juniors category in the World Cup, you need the ticket to fly there. But if you're good at it, see for Seth Sherlock, he's on an international team now and he's killing it. So I think it's a pretty good school to be riding Crankworx and to be young in Canada too.
Grass is always greener on the other side, right? Europeans saying it's easier if you're in Whistler with all the media. And then the Canadians saying, well, we got to travel all the way to the other side of the world. Yeah. But I think the moral of the story is to do this, to make it big on this international scene, there's no easy path. It just takes hard work and dedication.
Yeah. But see, now they are lucky to have this crazy good series and live broadcast. It's super fun and super good to watch for us. And we want that too, but it's in Canada. So see?
We're trying to get France some exposure, Loic. We're trying to get you guys
Sure.
some,
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you, man.
bring
I
you guys up with
appreciate.
the old Canadians here.
Where'd you get
Actually,
that
Maya
hat,
is
Elliot?
French Canadian.
Yeah, my the other day, my neighbor, I guess he has a lot of sports memorabilia, so I guess it's from the 2010 World Cup. I'll take it.
Nice.
Any way
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah.
support
Yeah,
France,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, the nation of France is
yeah.
bring them up here, give them some races.
I
You
love
knew it was going to
everything
come in
you say
handy.
about French people. Yeah.
I'm sure all
I
these
love
Canadians
USA
can't
too.
wait to be able to get back to France and get back into international competition. But without the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series, what would we be watching right now? You know, it's been a great way to bring downhill racing for the athletes and for the spectators and the fans out there. Right now, we're waiting to find out who we're going to have on course next. Speaking about getting back to racing, it sounds like the next rider we'll have on course is Jesse Melamed, a guy who, wow, he's been just climbing the ranks and just getting faster and faster as we proceed through this 3-week series. And so we had to ask him how he's been dealing with the fatigue, because he seems to just be getting faster.
Right now, I think the hardest thing to do is going to be managing fatigue levels. It's really hard to know. You know, it's going to be one of those things in 3 weeks. You might just be like, wow, I should have really eased into it a bit more, because it's just so many events and so much efforts. And dual slalom in particular, I think, is so many short bursts that are super quick, and I think that wears on you. So I think that's one thing that's super important, is just managing fatigue.
So Jesse Melamed took the win in the kicking horse downhill, giving him those points to be within striking distance. Here he's sitting in 4th place, only 18 points behind Reese Werner. So a lot of stuff can change here, especially if your name's Jesse Melamed.
Yeah, it's so true. There's a couple of people, you know, in that 2, 3, 4 spots, and Jesse won kicking horse. You know, I don't think anyone expected that. For him to come out, win a downhill on his trail bike. We all saw that run, which was insane. So I'm really excited to see if he can do it again here.
So that's why it's interesting. You know, you got the enduro specialist guy. You're going, all right, he'll just salvage some points in downhill. Then he goes and wins in kicking horse. I feel like that's kind of been the theme here. We didn't know what to expect when we're putting all of these athletes outside of their main disciplines, outside of their comfort levels. But Finn sweeping the enduro, Jesse taking the win at kicking horse. So really just going to show, if you're fast going downhill on a bike, it doesn't really matter what we call the race and what the subtle differences are in the formats, because a guy like Jesse Melamed or Finn Isles, they can win even outside their comfort zone. Now, this guy obviously has a lot of accomplishments to his name. 2 podiums in last year's EWS. He was first in the Whistler Crankworx Enduro just last year, and now just cutting his teeth in downhill here, grabbing those points, and a real opportunity to knock out Reese Werner and Bas van Steenbergen if he's able to top Henry Fitzgerald here. Henry Fitzgerald seemingly put down an untouchable time, but slowly but surely we're getting closer to him, and the next rider with an opportunity to try to take that hot seat is on your screen right now, Jesse Melamed.
Yeah, you can see how focused he is. And one of the things too, you know, there is momentum and there's confidence coming from last week, but there's also a bit more pressure on yourself. There's more expectations. He knows that he can win now. And Loic, that's something that you're familiar with, especially, you know, like a normal World Cup, like you go from qualifying first and then have to race finals. I feel like that's maybe kind of similar to this.
Yeah, for sure. It's super hard, and seeing these guys not practicing a lot and being able to step up the speed for the final, like the only run, is pretty impressive. And when I see JP and the enduro guys being able to go so intensely fast, it's cool. Like, it's not their field, and they're still fast.
Oh man, I'm so interested to see what happens here. Look at that, he's only got 5 seconds left to go. I don't think he's gonna do it.
Yeah, I wonder if there was a mistake, because he looks so fast down here. I mean, it's hard for us to tell exactly, but man, he's just pinned. Look at him, like, almost sliding out.
What did Henry do?
I know,
Right?
what did Henry do?
Look at him, he's just like...
And he's just chilling.
He's just chilling. I love it.
Well, Henry Fitzgerald, once again, gets cozy in that hot seat this time. Right across the line, 9 seconds behind that top time. Jesse Melamed slots into 4th place. He's able to stay there. 4th place is worth 60 points, but we still have Werner van Steenbergen and Finn Isles to go. So maybe not that that springboard we were hoping for Jesse Melamed right now, but if your name is Reese Werner or Bas van Steenbergen, you can absolutely breathe a sigh of relief here. It looks like what Reese is doing in that picture, actually.
It's so true. I mean, and all the talk has been about the fatigue, and Reese comes from an XC background not long ago. So for him to make that transition, you see the tire choice there, the DHR, best rear tire, I might say. That's what I use. It's better than whatever Loic is using. And yeah.
What are you talking about,
Here we go, Reese Werner on course right now. The next rider with an opportunity to knock out that blistering time from Henry Fitzgerald. And as we're sitting here just speculating, wondering, where did Henry Fitzgerald find so much time? I'm getting a little bit of inside information from Crankworx General Manager Darren Kinnaird via text message. He said all day during practice, people were just talking about how fast Henry Fitzgerald looked. So Reese, very well aware the fact that top time right there is held by a worthy opponent who looks motivated to try to contest that.
It's true, and I think this bottom section will really suit Reese with all the pedals. He didn't. He's close.
That's
He's
a good
close.
time, yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be so tight, you guys, but it's not going to be. Reese Werner through the line, only 2.8 seconds back this time from that blistering run from Henry Fitzgerald. Reese Werner, the closest yet, with 2 more to go. Bas van Steenbergen and Finn Isles. But Reese Werner absolutely crushing it. Now, he's sitting in good position right now. 2nd place points would be 85. You still got to watch Bas van Steenbergen and Finn Isles. But Reese Werner definitely playing some defense there. You know, Henry Fitzgerald obviously looking as the front runner today for this race. But when it comes to the overall, Henry Fitzgerald is down in 10th place. So his points are going to take away from the possible points, but you don't have to worry about him too much for the overall. A guy like Bas van Steenbergen right now needs a 10th or higher to be equaling Reese Werner and battling out for that 2nd place spot in the overall. Of course, number 1's already secured by Finn Isles, who clinched that overall with his result in slalom yesterday. That big 2nd place to this man right here, Bas van Steenbergen, looking to hopefully make it 2 days in a row with a win if he has a perfect run here. The Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill, he's on course.
Big Bas. I know he wants to do well in a downhill race. He's an amazing downhill rider. You know, he's raced World Cups. I think he knows he can do well in a downhill. It's just about putting it together, and especially on a track like this where there's a lot of pumping. He's super fit. He's like insanely fit, so he should be able to make this happen.
Like Loic, what you're always talking about. What you're always talking about, Loic, you keep it's a theme you keep going back to, is feeling your bike on the ground, knowing when to tuck, knowing when to pedal, knowing when to pump, being one with the earth. Bas van Steenbergen really seems like he's a rider who embodies that.
Yeah, as a really good BMX rider and like pump track guy, he for sure knows how to do it.
Bas van Steenbergen looking to get at least a 10th place right here to get some of those points that he needs. Nice! Oh, okay. 7th is where he sits right now, 10 seconds back behind Henry Fitzgerald. And if you think about how many riders are within that 10-second range of Henry Fitzgerald, for Bas to be on the lower end of that 10 seconds right there was so important for him to salvage some of those points. I mean, the next 3 riders behind him, 8th, 9th, and 10th, are in that 10-second range. So the points he's going to get there compared to if he were 11th are absolutely going to help his cause to hold on to that 2nd place there. All right, with one competitor left to go, of course, you know him. We've been talking about him for the past 3 weeks and all day today. Loic Bruni's teammate, the man who clinched the overall series, Finn Isles. Now, Finn Isles, a downhill specialist. He's been winning all the enduros, but if anybody can knock out this run from Henry Fitzgerald, it's this man right here.
Yeah, and I mean, Henry won the Psychosis, which is a completely different race than this. So I think it goes to show how well he's riding downhill right now. Finn coming out of the gate, super strong.
Strong. Yeah. Oh!
He's up!
He's up!
Oh!
Definitely wants it too, like Baya, you know?
Yeah,
You can tell the body language, can't you, when somebody really wants it?
Yeah, I feel like it might be Finn Isles' day again.
Looking good.
I know Henry had a really good bottom split though. I don't think anyone's been able to make up time on him.
Still 2 seconds though to play with.
Yeah.
And he's strong on the pedals. Look at that.
Yeah,
Look at that bitch.
It's gonna be close.
This kid is so tough.
No.
And look at that.
Wow.
He can do it all day, but Finn Isles smashes the time of Henry Fitzgerald by 2.3 seconds.
Nice.
Finn Isles adds another win on the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series. Wow. He's already locked it up, and he can't just let anybody else have another gold medal. He's addicted to those gold medals.
Oh yeah.
Yo,
Super
Loic,
strong
you know how
run.
competitive he is. How
Yeah.
much did that mean for him?
He's right now he's in heaven. He's trying to stay cool, but he's so happy he beats everyone again, and I know he's living for this, you know.
Man, oh man, this
for
kid
sure.
is a force to be reckoned with. With one event left on this series, he's not been on the podium in only one event. That was due to a crash. So, yeah, very impressive riding, not just this race, but all 3 weeks from Finn Isles. We'll throw a headset on your winner when we get back from the break. Don't go away.
Discover the best trails in the world. Trailforks. Download the app today.
A big thanks to all the companies making this possible. You can't spell good times without GT. Of course, if it's a Crankworx event, you know Whistler has something to do with it. The birthplace of the Crankworx World Tour. Big thanks to Whistler, Ride Now, Sleep Later. And Pivot, they've been creating all these hilarious pieces of content with Matt Walker and Eddie Masters. Don't miss those on Pink Bike. And a big thanks to Pivot Cycles. Well, what a crazy downhill race here. The Maxxis Sun Peaks downhill. Of course, a lot of story developing with the overall. And the guy who already locked it up decides to just, you know, put a candle on his cake, light it, blow it out, eat the whole cake. Finn Isles, 2.35, ahead of Henry Fitzgerald, who sat in that hot seat all day. Now, Finn, we talk about different pressure scenarios, trajectory curves of people in their career. For you, this is an interesting time where you've already locked up the overall, but you're a very competitive guy, and you just love to win. Where do you summon the motivation when you've already locked everything up? It didn't seem like you were any less motivated in this run.
Yeah, this track is super fun and super fast, and I feel like that sort of motivated me to ride fast, because when you're riding fast, you're having fun, and this track sort of facilitates that. So I was looking forward to racing it, and so I decided to give it my best.
Hey, Loic, you're his teammate. Let's have you throw a question at I'm sure you're very proud of him. You got a question for him?
Yeah, I'm proud of you, FIFA. Honestly, you look super strong, but you're still riding a little bit like a kid. I'm gonna smoke you once you come over to Europe.
Yeah, somebody told me at the bottom that Loic was on the live feed, so when I was heading up, I was like, I have to get first, so just so I could talk to him. He never texts me, never answers my calls. So I just had to do what I had to do.
Yes. Oh man. Well, that answered the first question.
Yeah, there's
right
definitely
there.
a few moments that were. Yeah, there's a few moments out there that were definitely a little bit loose, and I was like, when they were happening, I was like, oh, I should have been cleaner through there, and I just knew because Loic was on there, he'd criticize me, but it's all love. Miss you, buddy.
That's so great. Well, there's the answer to our question right there. Finn Isles knew that big teammate Loic was watching. He wanted to put on a good show for him, and he did exactly that, taking the win, adding even more points to his name. But take a look at second and third here. Oh my, Elliot, look at this.
Man, look how close it is. I think Bass is probably feeling a little bit comfortable knowing that it's A-line, but Reese is just good at everything. Like, he got third today, and it's just always right there. Every time you look at the result sheet, his name is one of those top 3-4 guys.
Reese Berner coming from that cross-country background, transitioning into enduro, but then proving he has the wide variety of skills to be battling it out for that second place spot in the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series. But like you said, the next race will be air downhill. Look for somebody like Bas van Steenbergen to be strong in that one, because even though Finn may have wrapped up the overall, that second and third spot in the men is very up for grabs. Casey Brown, she's maybe fallen off of that lead, but she needs to solidify that second place for the women. Will ALN grab some points in the air downhill and shake up the second and third spots? You won't know unless you tune in tomorrow, so I encourage you to do so. I got to thank my friends right here, Loic Bruni, for joining us. That was amazing to have a world champ on our screen at the bottom there. Elliot Jackson, the top right. That's where he's comfortable. That's where he's been hanging out the past 3 weeks. Good talking to you both. And thank you to all the fans out there following the action on the CLIF Crankworx Summer Series. We got one race left to go. We'll see you tomorrow.